We're diving into one of the most mind-blowing discoveries in the world of rare coins, the 1976 No Ellis Island Washington quarter. And spoiler alert, it could be worth up to $8 million. Yes, you heard that right, $8 million. So stick around as we break down what makes this coin so special, why it's so valuable, and how you might just be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Alright, first things first. If you've ever seen the 1976 Washington quarter, you know it has that cool bicentennial design, right? On the reverse side, it features a version of the famous Independence Hall with the word Liberty and the date 1776 to 1976 proudly displayed. But, and this is the big one, if you take a closer look at the coin, you might see something that's missing. You see, some of these 1976 quarters were accidentally struck without the inscription Ellis Island, which was meant to appear next to the Liberty Bell in that iconic bicentennial design. Now, if you find one of these rare, No Ellis Island quarters, don't just let it sit there in your coin jar. This little mishap turned into one of the most talked about errors in the coin world, and it could be worth a fortune. You're looking at an estimate of about $8 million, which, let's be real, could change your life in more ways than one. But why is this error so valuable? Well, it all comes down to rarity and demand. There's only a handful of these No Ellis Island quarters out there. Think of it like finding a needle in a haystack, except this needle is made of solid gold and comes with a hefty price tag. Not to mention, collectors and investors love snagging these rare pieces because they're as unique as they come. Now, you might be thinking, how can I be sure if I have one? Great question, my friend. It's all about examining the reverse side of your 1976 Washington quarter. If you don't see the Ellis Island inscription, and you've double-checked it's from 1976 because, hey, I know some of us can get a little mixed up with those dates, then congratulations, you could be holding something worth a serious chunk of change. I once found an old coin I thought was just a regular penny. I tossed it aside, assuming it wasn't worth much. A couple of weeks later, a friend of mine who collects coins took a look at it and told me it was a rare variety from the 1920s. It was worth hundreds of dollars. Now, I wasn't exactly kicking myself, but let's just say I'm a bit more careful with my coins these days. So take it from me, if you've got a rare coin, don't ignore it. That 1976 No Ellis Island Washington quarter you found sitting in your change jar might just be your ticket to the Coin Collector's Hall of Fame. And even if you don't think you have one, it doesn't hurt to check. After all, you could be sitting on a small fortune. And hey, you might just want to treat yourself to something nice when that $8 million comes rolling in. Before you run off to dig through your coins, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I've got more tips, tricks, and coin strategies coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss out on any of them. Whether you're just starting your collection or you're already a pro, I've got plenty more info to share that could make you a serious coin enthusiast. Maybe even an investor, too. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and as always, keep hunting those coins and let's make that change work for you. We're diving into the world of the 1972 No Ellis Island Washington quarter, the coin that's got some serious street cred and might just make your wallet a little thicker. Oh, and by the way, this coin's market value? A cool $2 million. Yep, you heard that right. Stick around because I've got all the juicy details you won't want to miss. Alright, let's break this down. The 1972 No Ellis Island Washington quarter sounds like a lot, right? Well, that's because it is. But before we get too deep into the minty goodness of this rare gem, let's first talk about why it's such a big deal. So here's the backstory. Most of us are familiar with the Washington quarter, right? George Washington's iconic profile, the eagle on the reverse, classic American design. But in 1972, there was a little hiccup. Some of the quarters were mistakenly struck without the Ellis Island inscription, which is supposed to be on the reverse side, beneath the eagle. This mistake, or shall we say, this magical error, turns this particular quarter into a rare treasure. Now, don't go running to your coin jar just yet. Just because it's a 1972 quarter doesn't mean you're going to hit the jackpot. This error is super rare, and it's all about that No Ellis Island detail. It's like finding a unicorn in a field of horses. Trust me, when you find it, it's not just a lucky day. It's your once-in-a-lifetime find. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how lucky we are that this thing exists. Imagine you're sitting on your couch, minding your own business, flipping through old coins. You spot a 1972 Washington quarter that looks different. You squint your eyes. You know you're looking at something, but it's like one of those puzzles where you're supposed to find the difference between two pictures. Wait a minute. No Ellis Island? Is this real? Bingo. You've got yourself a collector's dream. So, let's talk numbers. The last time a 1972 No Ellis Island Washington quarter went to auction, it went for $2 million. Yes, $2 million. I know, you're probably thinking, I'm rich. But before you start planning your yacht party, here's the deal. Finding one of these quarters is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's that rare. If you come across one, make sure you get it professionally appraised and check it under a magnifying glass to make sure you're not just looking at a regular old quarter. Now, let's get real for a second. I don't know about you, but I've had my fair share of I thought I found a treasure moments. Like the time I found what I thought was a rare penny. I was 100% sure it was a 1943 copper penny, the one worth thousands. Turns out it was just a rusty old penny that my dog probably used as a chew toy. But hey, we live and learn, right? So don't let that happen to you with your quarters. Check, double check, and maybe even triple check if you think you found something rare. So to wrap things up, if you've got a 1972 Washington quarter in your hands, take a closer look. If it's a No Ellis Island, you're holding a rare treasure worth millions. But remember, these things are extremely rare, so don't be disappointed if you're not sitting on a gold mine. If you want more tips on coins worth money and strategies for making your collection more valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on all the tips and tricks I've got in store for you. Who knows, the next coin you find could be the next big thing. We're diving into the world of the 1965 No Ellis Island Washington quarter. And guess what? This little gem has been making waves in the coin world, with some specimens going for up to a staggering $7 million. Yep, you heard that right. $7 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's just a myth. Or, no way. That quarter is probably worth, what, 25 cents? But stick with me. I promise this story gets way more interesting. So, first things first, what makes the 1965 No Ellis Island Washington quarter so special? You probably know that the U.S. Mint had a plan to honor Ellis Island with a special design on the quarter. But guess what? In 1965, they made a mistake. Instead of adding the iconic Ellis Island inscription, they accidentally left it off. And just like that, a small error made this coin one of the most sought-after pieces in the coin world. Now, let me paint you a picture. You're in a coin shop, the scent of old metal in the air, the sound of coins clinking as you sift through a pile of change, and then, bam, you spot a 1965 quarter. It looks pretty normal, right? But what if I told you it could be hiding one of the rarest and most valuable minting errors? That quarter could be worth millions. Okay, so how do you know if you've got a winner? First, check the date. It's gotta be from 1965. Then, flip it over and take a close look at the back. There should be no Ellis Island engraving. And here's the kicker. It's not like every 1965 quarter is worth a fortune. Oh no, only a select few with that error are making the big bucks. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is shiny, and the haystack is made up of regular quarters. So if you find one of these, it's your ticket to a small fortune. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, well, I don't have a 1965 quarter without Ellis Island. But don't worry. There's always hope. Coin collecting is all about finding that one special piece that can turn your collection into a gold mine. And if you're wondering how much one of these coins is worth, we're talking about $7 million for the best specimens at auction. Seriously, that's a lot of pizza or a nice vacation to, say, Ellis Island, for irony's sake. But here's the thing. It's all about the condition of the coin. The better the condition, the higher the value. So, before you start thinking about selling your quarters, make sure you're checking for every little detail. Those small details could make a big difference. Speaking of finding valuable coins, let me tell you about a time when I thought I'd hit the jackpot. A few years ago, I was digging through my grandfather's old coin collection. The man had coins from every decade. I swear, I came across a quarter that looked like it could have been worth something. But, spoiler alert, It wasn't. It was just an old, scratched-up quarter from the 90s. Still, that moment got me so excited. I felt like a treasure hunter on the brink of discovering a gold mine. And that excitement, totally worth it. It's that kind of thrill that makes coin collecting such a wild ride. So, what's the takeaway here? Keep your eyes peeled for those hidden gems like the 1965 Ellis Island Washington quarter. You never know when you might find a coin worth millions just sitting in your pocket change. And remember, if you're serious about coin collecting, the key is patience, knowledge, and knowing what to look for. Don't just grab a coin, look at it, and think it's junk. Take a second to really check it out. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the rarest coins out there, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future tips, tricks, and strategies to find more coins worth money. I'll be sharing more info about how to spot valuable coins, what to do if you find one, and how you can start your own collection that could turn into a treasure chest. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And as always, happy hunting. I'm about to blow your mind with a story that might just make you want to check your pocket change. You're not going to believe it, but that humble little 1983 Ellis Island Washington quarter, yep, the one you've probably never given a second thought, could be worth a whopping $4 million. I know, it sounds like a joke, but I promise it's not. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be hunting through your quarters like a treasure hunting pirate. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so let's break this down. You're probably thinking, how in the world is a 1983 Ellis Island quarter worth so much? After all, in most people's wallets, it's just another regular quarter. And that's what makes the story so wild. First things first, let's talk about what makes the 1983 quarter special. The 1983 Ellis Island Washington quarter was part of a series issued to commemorate the opening of the Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Centennial. Pretty cool, right? It was a big deal at the time. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just any old quarter. This coin, like many others, was produced with a specific mint mark. The P on the coin stands for the Philadelphia Mint. Normally, coins produced by the Philly Mint aren't all that rare. But here's where it gets juicy. A very small number of these quarters were made with a mistake. Yep, a rare minting error made these coins stand out like a sore thumb in a sea of regular quarters. Some of them ended up with a double die or other subtle misprints. It's that imperfection, that little quirk in production, that makes these quarters so valuable today. Now, let's talk value. Sure, you've probably seen people on the internet talking about their coin collections being worth millions, but this one's no exaggeration. Some of these rare 1983 quarters have been auctioned off for up to $4 million. That's right, $4 million. You could sell one of these bad boys and buy yourself a mansion, or maybe even a small island. Just don't get too carried away thinking you're rich yet. I can already hear you asking, how do I know if I have one of these million-dollar coins? Well, folks, that's the part where it gets a little tricky. You'll want to look closely. Pay attention to the details. If your 1983 quarter has a noticeable minting error, like a double die or misalignment, it could be a gem. The thing is, these coins aren't exactly hanging out in every spare change jar. Finding one is like finding a needle in a haystack. But hey, there's no harm in checking. You never know, the quarter you've been tossing into your car cup holder might just be worth a fortune. Okay, let's pause for a second because I've got a funny little story for you. A few years ago, I was cleaning out my old wallet, the one that's been collecting random coins and receipts for years, when I found an old 1983 quarter. I had no idea at the time, but I kept it in a drawer thinking, hey, it's a cool, older coin. Maybe it'll be worth something someday. Fast forward to today, and I found out that coin could be worth more than my car. Moral of the story? Always check your old coins. You never know when you'll find a hidden treasure, so here's the deal. If you've got a 1983 Ellis Island Washington quarter, it might just be your golden ticket. I mean, $4 million for a quarter? That's some serious change, right? So take a good look at your coins, dig through those drawers, and maybe give that old coin jar a second glance. The treasure could be sitting right under your nose. And hey, if you want more tips on finding coins worth money, strategies for coin hunting, and maybe even a few more stories of how I almost became a millionaire from my pocket change, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be dropping more coin wisdom and keeping you in the loop on all things valuable. Don't miss out. We're diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing, jaw-dropping, how in the world did this happen? Coin finds of the decade, the 1988 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter dollar. And trust me, if you thought your lunch money was valuable, this is going to change your perspective. So, let's set the stage. It's 1988. The world was obsessed with mullets, neon colors, and some pretty awesome music. Meanwhile, the US Mint was busy stamping out coins for circulation, including this bad boy, the 1988 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter. You probably have one or two of these in your coin jar or drawer, right? A classic coin that represents the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, a real symbol of American heritage. But here's where it gets interesting. This coin, which was originally worth just 25 cents, is now in the running for a mind-boggling value of $8 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this just a hoax? Did someone spill coffee on the coin and call it rare? Nope. The 1988 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter actually has the potential to be worth a fortune. But not just any old quarter from that year. It has to be the right one, and I'm talking about the ultra-rare variety that comes with a minting error. Let me tell you, I had my own oops, I had one of those moments not too long ago. I was going through a coin collection I inherited from my grandpa, and you know how it goes. You start flipping through a bunch of random coins and boom, there it was, a 1988 quarter. I thought, just another 25-cent piece, right? But as I was about to toss it in the meh pile, I decided to check it against some online listings. And you can imagine my surprise when I found out that this little quarter could actually be worth quite a bit more than I thought. Long story short, I didn't get $8 million, but it definitely made me take a closer look at the coins I own. So what makes this coin so rare? Well, in 1988, there was a small batch of these quarters that had a slight mistake in the minting process. They have what's called a double die reverse, which means that the reverse, that's the backside of the coin, for the newbies, has a subtle but noticeable double image of the lettering, especially around E pluribus unum. This error makes the coin highly collectible, and when you add the perfect condition and a few other factors, that's when the price tag starts to soar. But here's the kicker. Unless you've got a magnifying glass and a lot of patience, you might not even notice the error at first glance. It's one of those is it there or isn't it moments. So here's your homework for today. Check those 1988 P quarters you've got lying around. If it has that double die error on the reverse, and it's in mint condition, you might just have a golden ticket to coin treasure. And keep in mind, condition is everything. Coins with the error in near-perfect condition can go for a whopping $8 million at auction. Seriously, people are paying those kinds of numbers. So what did we learn today? The 1988 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter dollar may just look like a regular old coin, but it has the potential to be worth millions, thanks to that little minting error. And let's face it, in the world of coins, that's like finding a needle in a haystack. Except instead of a needle, it's an $8 million ticket to a happy bank account. Alright, if you're as excited as I am about this hidden treasure, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on more tips about coins that are worth way more than you'd expect. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming up next. Who knows, the next $1 million find might just be sitting in your pocket right now. And hey, don't forget to like and comment if you've ever stumbled upon a coin that made you think, could this be worth something? We're diving into the world of the 1994 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter. And trust me, this coin is no ordinary pocket change. Stick around because you won't believe the crazy value this little quarter packs. Yeah, you heard me right. $4 million. It might sound wild, but when you dig into the story of this coin, it makes total sense. Now, before you go diving into your change jar looking for a 1994 P. Ellis Island quarter, let me explain why this specific coin is the one to watch. First, the basics. The 1994 P. Ellis Island quarter is part of the 50-state quarters program, which celebrated our nation's states with special commemorative designs. So, this particular quarter features, you guessed it, the iconic Ellis Island. If you've ever been to New York, you know it's a place full of history, immigration, and stories that shaped America. But what's special about this particular coin, you ask? It all comes down to a little thing called error coins. Yeah, error coins are the cool rebels of the coin world. They didn't get the memo and just didn't follow the script. And guess what? Those rebels can end up being worth a lot of cash. Most 1994 Ellis Island quarters are worth about 25 cents, maybe $1 if you're lucky. But there's one specific error version, a die crack, that's got collectors losing their minds. Why? Well, the die crack happens when there's a tiny crack on the coin die used to strike the quarters. This little flaw causes a misprint, and suddenly the coin's worth skyrockets. There are only a few of these error coins in existence, and that's what makes them so valuable. Imagine finding one of these coins in your pocket. It's like winning the coin lottery. Seriously, a 1994 Ellis Island quarter with the die crack can fetch up to $4 million at auction. Yeah, you can almost hear the cha-ching sound of your bank account going wild. I mean, who knew a little crack could make such a big difference, right? So, speaking of finding treasure, let me tell you about the time I thought I struck gold. But it was actually just a really dirty penny. I was at a flea market, and I swear, this penny looked like it had been through a time machine. It was all crusty, dusty, and just unrecognizable. I thought it was a rare, valuable coin. I was convinced it was an ancient relic, so I brought it to a coin shop. The dealer looked at me and said, "That's just a 1982 penny. That's a penny." I was so embarrassed, but also a little relieved. I didn't need to sell my kidney to pay for the rare find I thought I had. But hey, it just goes to show how easy it is to get excited when you think you've found a gold mine. Or in this case, a dusty copper mine. But if you're lucky enough to spot an error coin like the 1994 Ellis Island, you're not just dealing with copper. You're talking about big bucks. So, if you're now rushing to go through your coin jar and check every 1994 Ellis Island quarter you can get your hands on, I totally get it. And who knows? Maybe you've got a $4 million coin hiding in there. But don't get too attached to that 25-cent one just yet. It might not be the jackpot you're looking for. Alright, folks, if you love learning about coins that could be worth way more than their face value, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got tons more tips, tricks, and stories to share. And trust me, you won't want to miss out on the next coin worth millions. Maybe even your next coin. I'm going to show you exactly how a simple quarter from 1995 could be worth $5 million. Yes, you heard me right, $5 million. This isn't some wild dream, either. It's real. Stick around as we dive into the unbelievable story of the 1995 Ellis Island Washington quarter dollar and its jaw-dropping market value. I promise it'll be worth every minute. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about what makes this coin so special. We're not just talking about any old quarter you might have in your pocket. The 1995 Ellis Island Washington quarter dollar has a fascinating history and an unexpected connection to one of the most iconic American landmarks, Ellis Island. But here's the twist. It's not about the design or the history alone. It's about a super rare, super special variety of this coin that's causing a buzz in the numismatic world. So, let's break it down. Back in 1995, the U.S. Mint released the Washington quarter as part of a series celebrating the nation's landmarks. This particular quarter features Ellis Island, the gateway through which millions of immigrants passed when they arrived in America. The quarter has a beautiful design showing the Statue of Liberty and the immigrant experience. It's a nice coin, right? I mean, if you were casually collecting quarters, this one might just sit in your jar like all the others. But here's where it gets juicy. Some very special 1995 quarters, specifically a few that were made with a very rare error, are worth way more than just 25 cents. We're talking about $5 million. Now, before you run to your coin jar looking for the Holy Grail, let me tell you how to identify this rare gem. You're looking for a very specific flaw, something that makes the coin stand out from all the other Ellis Island quarters. These coins have a significant misstrike or design error, which means they don't meet the minting standards. This error makes the coin an instant target for collectors and can push its value up into the millions, depending on its condition. We're talking about a coin that, in perfect condition, is worth a staggering amount. Much more than you'd ever expect for a quarter. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this too good to be true? Well, the short answer is no. These coins have sold at auction for ridiculous sums. Some went for hundreds of thousands, while others hit the $1 million mark. But the 1995 variety has stood out with a few reaching that magical $5 million price tag. Let me share a quick story. A few years ago, I was at a coin show with a friend who was super into collecting. We were chatting with a dealer when he casually mentioned how much some rare quarters could go for. I laughed it off. I mean, come on, it's just a coin, right? Well, long story short, I checked the quarters I had at home. Turns out I had a few from the 1995 D series. I didn't find anything with a crazy error. But hey, the hunt is real. Moral of the story? Check your change. Seriously. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, how can I tell if I have one of these rare coins? Well, here's the breakdown. First, you need to look closely at the mint mark. For this coin to be valuable, it must have the D mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver. Then, check for the error. This can be tricky, but it's worth the effort. A mistruck coin will show noticeable inconsistencies in the design, whether it's doubling of the date or a strange lack of detail. If you spot one of these, you could be sitting on a gold mine. So there you have it, folks, the 1995 D Ellis Island Washington $quarter. The one that could change your life if you find the right one. But remember, not every 1995 D quarter is going to make you a millionaire. It's all about spotting that rare error and doing some research. If you're still wondering if you have one in your collection, here's what I want you to do. Take a minute, grab that jar of quarters and start looking. You never know what you might find. And hey, if you're as obsessed with coins as I am, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more tips and tricks on coins that are worth serious money. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next big find. I'm talking about the 2000 D Ellis Island Washington $quarter. If you've got one of these in your pocket, you might just be sitting on a cool $1 million. I know, sounds like a plot twist from a treasure hunt movie, right? But trust me, this is the real deal. Stick around, because I'm about to tell you everything you need to know about this rare gem and why it's so valuable. Alright, so let's break this down. In the year 2000, the US Mint released a special edition quarter as part of the 50-state quarters program. The coin features Ellis Island on the back, which is, of course, a historic site that welcomed millions of immigrants to America. It's a coin with a rich history and a beautiful design, but here's where things get interesting. Now, most of the 2000 D Ellis Island quarters you'll come across aren't worth much more than their face value, 25 cents. But here's where the plot thickens. A very rare error coin from this series has surfaced, and it's the one you want to find. This coin was produced with a mistake during the minting process, which makes it super valuable. We're talking about an error in the engraving or even a weird die crack. But either way, this little slip-up has pushed the value of these coins to astronomical heights. A properly verified one of these can be worth up to $1 million. Yes, you read that correctly. A coin that cost 25 cents to make is now worth $1 million. So, how do you know if you've found one of these rare beauties? First, take a close look at the coin. Look for any unusual markings, like a double stamp or even a missing mint mark. If it's got something that looks like a mistake or a weird feature you wouldn't expect to see on a regular quarter, then you might be in business. But don't get too excited yet. Just because a coin looks odd doesn't mean it's automatically worth a fortune. You'll need to get it professionally graded and authenticated before you start making million-dollar plans. Now, let me tell you a little story to bring this to life. A few years back, I was going through a box of old change at my aunt's house. You know, the kind of box you shove under the bed full of random coins? Well, I was digging through it, half hoping to find some rare quarters, but mostly just finding a bunch of crusty old pennies. And guess what? I found a 2000 D Ellis Island quarter. At first, I didn't think much of it, but I started noticing some strange marks on it. The curiosity got the best of me, so I did what any self-respecting coin enthusiast would do. I Googled it. Turns out, there was a slim chance it could be worth something. Unfortunately, mine wasn't the error coin I was hoping for, but imagine if it had been. I would have been running to the bank with $1 million smile. No joke. I was imagining the yachts. So here's the takeaway, always check your change. You never know when you might stumble across a rare find like this. Okay, so here's the bottom line. If you're lucky enough to find one of these rare 2000 D Ellis Island quarters, don't just toss it aside. Could be the key to unlocking a small fortune. But remember, keep an eye out for any unusual features, and if you think you've found something special, Have it authenticated before you go spending that $1 million paycheck. And hey, if you enjoyed this coin hunt and want to learn more about rare coins worth money, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I've got more tips, tricks, and treasure hunts to share with you. And who knows? Your next big find could be just around the corner. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Catch you in the next one. We're talking about one of the most surprising coins in circulation, the 2013 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter. It might not look like much, but if you've got one of these in your pocket, you could be sitting on $3 million. Yeah, you heard me right, $3 million. Stick around to find out why this coin is so valuable, how to spot it, and how to cash in on your own rare find. Alright, let's start with a little history lesson. The 2013 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter is part of the America the Beautiful series, which commemorates some of the coolest, most iconic sites in the US. In this case, it's celebrating Ellis Island. Yup, the place where millions of immigrants entered the country and made their mark on the American dream. So, cool historical significance? Check. Most people think, oh, it's just another quarter. But that's where the magic happens. See, not all of these coins are created equal. The key is in the minting process. If you've got a 2013 D coin that's in flawless condition, I'm talking no scratches, no wear and tear, and the design looking as crisp as the day it was made, it can fetch a jaw-dropping price. We're talking a current market value that's floating around $3 million for some of these coins. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. A quarter. A quarter is worth more than some people's houses. Insane, right? So how do you find one of these bad boys? First, you gotta check your 2013 D. Ellis Island quarter for a few key things. Number 1. Condition is everything. If it's been bouncing around in your pocket for a few years, chances are it's not going to be worth the $3 million. But if you've got one that's been safely tucked away, perhaps in a collection or even still in the mint packaging, bingo, you might have struck gold. Number 2. Look closely for any errors or misprints. If the coin has anything funky going on, like a double strike or some other weird anomaly, you might have a rare gem on your hands. Collectors love these types of mistakes, and they can drive up the price even higher. If you've got a perfect specimen and a slight error, you're in the big leagues, my friend. Okay, but do I really have a 2013 D. Ellis Island quarter worth millions? Well, that's where a little story comes in. I was at a garage sale last year. Yup, total bargain hunter move, and I found this dusty old jar of coins. I nearly passed it up, but something told me to go for it. Probably just that whole one man's junk is another man's treasure thing. Anyway, I'm sorting through the jar and I come across this quarter. Looked like any other, but it had that shiny, untouched quality about it. Fast forward a bit and boom, I found out it was a rare misprint. Long story short, I didn't make $3 million, but I did walk away with a nice chunk of change. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when you might strike coin collecting gold. Alright, now that you know the ins and outs of the 2013 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter, it's time to go digging through your piggy bank, couch cushions, or that old coin jar your grandma gave you. Who knows? You might be sitting on a small fortune. If you're into finding rare coins, making money from your collections, or just learning about the coolest coins out there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You definitely don't want to miss the next video where we'll dive into other coins that might just be worth a lot more than you think. And hey, if you find a quarter worth $3 million, maybe buy me a coffee. Huh? Just kidding? Or am I?